Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Moreno Boxing TV. I'm your host, Carlos Moreno, and today I've got for you footwork, movement with the jab. So how to combine that jab with your footwork. I'm going to explore stepping in with the jab, stepping out with the jab, moving, looking for angles, bending your knees when you're going down to the body. So, as you know, without further ado, let's get ready to... That was a good one, but I can do it better. Boxing! Alright, ladies and gentlemen, so we get in our boxing stance. We start off using that jab. If you don't know how to throw a proper jab, please go back and watch my previous video. I teach you how to rotate the hips and how to get the shoulder into that jab. Okay, so we're serious now. So we've got in our boxing stance. Okay, in our boxing stance. From this position, we rotate and extend. Chin down, right arm, side of the face for protection. Okay, you need to get that technique first. So we're going to learn how to throw the jab on the move. So I'm jabbing. Now, a lot of people when they first come to the gym, they know they already did some boxing before. So I'll say to them, okay, show me how to jab. They throw a jab. Good. But what do? As soon as they jab, they step forward. So if you get beginners and you say to them, show me how to throw a jab, they go in their stance and they throw the jab and they step in. Okay? So automatically they've stepped in with a jab, but then they're not questioning themselves and asking, why am I stepping in with a jab? It's an automatic thing. That is not the way of the boxer or of the martial artist. Anything that you do as a martial artist or a boxer needs to have a purpose, needs to have a reason, and you need to be conscious about everything that you're doing with regards to your technique. So if you're stepping in and jabbing, but you don't know the difference between stepping in and jabbing, and that they're two different things, and you're combining the two without knowing what you're actually doing, then you're not fully conscious of what the jab entails and what the movement in boxing entails. So as a conscious martial artist, you should be able to break down every technique into its truest and simplest elements. A step in with a jab is a step in with a jab. It's a combination of two techniques. The first technique is a step. The second technique is a jab, or vice versa. But there's still two different techniques, okay? It's in the same way that you can break a jab down into its different finer elements, such as rotation, extension, recoil, hands back. Possibly, there are many different ways to throw a jab, and possibly there are limitless things and elements that you can break a jab down into, including its function, its purpose, and structure. There's many different ways, okay? To keep it simple, to simplify things, we're just gonna focus on the movement and the jab for now, okay? So, the step in is a technique of its own, and that itself can be broken down into different elements in different stages. If I'm going back, usually it's my back leg first, then my next leg follows, ensuring that my feet stay shoulder width apart because I do not want to compromise my balance. Having said that, sometimes you can have your feet spread apart. There's no right or wrong way to do things, but you should know if you're going to have your feet apart, again, you should be conscious about what you're doing, and you should know why you're doing this. If you're doing this, don't just do it because your teacher told you to or because you watched it on a YouTube video. Be conscious about what you're doing and understand why you have your feet shoulder width apart. So everything that you do in boxing or as a martial artist should have an explanation, and you should be conscious of the reasons why you're doing things. And it all should be geared towards becoming victorious or becoming a finer martial artist. Having said that, let's go straight into it. So I'm in my boxing stance. I can jab, and then I can step. I can step, and then I can jab. I can step back and jab. I can jab, and then I can step back. I can step back and jab. All of those different techniques have different purposes and can be used at different times. Again, there are limitless possibilities. I'm going to give you some examples of how I would use these techniques. I wouldn't opt for stepping forward without throwing any punches. Normally, by the rule, you don't go forward without doing something offensively or defensively. You do not move forward towards an opponent, towards danger, without attacking or defending. One of the two things you ought to be doing. So normally, if I'm moving forward, I'm either moving the head to get close to my opponent. I'm either blocking as I'm going forward. Yeah, I'm catching. I'm using different types of defense. So I'm using the head defense and hand defense, and I'm being aggressive with my feet. So again, if we break those techniques down into finer elements, we have different types of defenses in boxing. We have hand defense, head defense, feet defense. But you can combine them as well and have different types of combinations. For example, when I'm going forward, I'm being defensive with my hands, defensive with my head, but my feet are being aggressive because they're pushing forward. So my feet are attacking, but my hands and head are defending. So I could be going back, moving back and punching. So my feet are defending and my head might be defending, but my hands are attacking. So these are the type of things that you must be conscious of in boxing. You need to understand. If you don't understand these finer intricacies, you're going to be going forward, being aggressive, throwing shots without really thinking about what you're doing and understanding what you're doing. And that is the low level of the martial artist. If you want to step up to a higher level, you need to start understanding and breaking things down to those finer points. I'm in my boxing stance. I'm moving forward, okay? And I'm slipping. There, slipping. As I get close, I might want to touch my opponent with a jab, okay? So I've got the initiative. My opponent might become quite aggressive and come chasing me. So I'm going to start going back now, shoot the jab, and step back. I might shoot the jab to stun my opponent. So let's look at the function of the jab. The jab serves many different functions. The jab can be used to score points. The jab can be used to keep your opponent off you. The jab can be used to measure the distance between yourself and your opponent, hence detecting range. The jab can be used as a smoke screen to blind the opponent so they don't know what's coming next. The jab can be used to go to the body and stop. I call it splitting. You split. You hit the opponent at the center of his body and you split the top and the bottom half. It's very difficult to move forward with your bottom or forward half when you've been split. When your opponent hits you here, usually it stops you going forward. If you get hit at the top, you can usually get your feet, you can still get your feet underneath. And you obviously can't hit below the waist, okay? But let's say you could kick and the guy can still land a punch, okay? But if you get hit right in the middle, in the center, it's very difficult to go forward because it distributes the weight evenly, okay? That's my theory. So, I'm in my boxing stance. Let me show you different ways I can use the jab. My opponent is coming forward, rushing in. I stun him with a jab, so quick jab to stun him, take a step back to avoid anything else. So as the opponent's rushing, I've jabbed him and his head's gone back like this and he's swung a big punch. So he's coming forward, I jab, he swings a big punch, I take a step back. That jab created enough time and enough distraction and stunned my opponent enough to give me space, to give me time to step back and avoid being hit to the body. If I hadn't thrown the jab and I just stepped back, the opponent would have noticed that I've gone back and they wouldn't have thrown the punch and maybe would have stepped in again and then they would have landed something. But because I threw the jab and stepped back, it creates distance. I can step back and jab at the same time because some opponents, they might throw one and then they might throw two and then three, four. So they're gonna keep coming at you. So you might wanna go back, You might wanna go back. As they're coming forward, you're scoring points. You're scoring points and you're moving back and creating distance. You're maintaining that distance, arm's length. Especially if you've got a reach advantage of the opponent, you want to maintain that distance. And you're moving round, or you're moving, you circle to your left. Why do we circle to our left? So we don't end up on the ropes. You can circle to your right as well. Many fighters don't do that because they're watching out for the left hook. And it's a very smart thing too. You got to watch out for the left hook. If you're moving to your right, you usually want to roll underneath when that left hook comes, or you want to counter with your own hook. But we'll get to that another day. So that's defensive use of the jab. You can jab, you can step out, jab, step out to the side, look for angles. Jabbing going forward. I might want to jab, boom, to push my opponent back. First I jab him, make him go back, and then I take ground. Then I step. Maybe I might not throw another jab again, okay? But this takes us to another important thing. Once you've thrown a jab, or once you've taken a step, you then have a little bit of time to assess the situation and make decisions. If you don't use your jab, you're usually going to be under a lot of pressure and you're not going to have time to make smart decisions. So if my opponent's rushing me and all I'm doing is this all the time and taking punches, I'm never going to get a breather to calculate and make smart decisions. Okay? Sometimes it happens, the opponent gets aggressive and just throws shots and you just have to fight back. You fight back but then you get back in the center of the ring, and guess what you do? You start jabbing again. Jab, jab, you're back in the center of the ring, you go back to your jab. How many fighters go back to their jab? Not many. They just engage in the situation, they go back in the center of the ring, and they go straight back to engage in another rush. Why not take a little step back and get back to your jab, okay? So the jab gives me time. My opponent rushes, I hit him with the jab, he's stunned. I get 1 second to make a decision. 1 second in boxing can be equivalent to a minute sometimes. It can feel like a very long time. You've hit the opponent, things happen very quickly in boxing. Bam, I've hit my opponent, I get 1-2 seconds to decide. Am I gonna go right? Am I gonna go left? Or am I gonna push him back? Or am I gonna retreat? So you get time, it gives time. If you don't use that jab, guess what? The opponent rushes and they get right up close to you, and then by the time you're trying to think, now I need to go left and right, there's no distance between the two of you, and now you're in trouble because they're right up close and they're gonna be throwing combinations. And then you're gonna step back, and then most likely, if you're not used to using the jab, you've stepped back, you've disengaged. If you don't use the jab, they're gonna hit you again. Okay, so let's talk about that. Let's say I do make a mistake. My opponent's really good and I throw the jab and I miss the jab, and then they get right up close and now they're there. I've covered up. They've gone to the body, I've traded some shots with them, but I've managed to get away. What should I do next? Get back to the jab. It stops them closing the distance. Yeah, so you've just come out of an engagement, bam, 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 get back to the jab. Creates the distance between yourself and your opponent. So this takes us again now to functions of the, again, going back to the function of the jab. Defense, maintaining distance between yourself and your opponent. Defense. So I hit my opponent with a jab, bam. That arm length distance could be a lifesaver, could be enough to stop your opponent countering or hitting you back. I hit with a jab, it gives me time. It gives me time to step back. It gives me time to move my head. It gives me time to follow up, okay? It creates opportunities for landing other shots. So I hit the jab, okay? And I'm setting up, because I'm turning the hips and putting all the weight on the back leg, now I can push off that back leg to set up the jab. So if I've got an aggressive opponent, I can go back, 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 boom, and set him up for the right cross, okay? If I want to be the aggressor, I can go pushing my opponent back, boom, and set him up for the right cross, or then a body shot, yeah? So the jab is really, really important, yeah? Ensure that also when you throw, the jab is a very good punch to throw. Thrown incorrectly, the jab's gonna get you into a lot of trouble. So let's explore now how the jab can get you into trouble. If you throw the jab and you're throwing it too low, with your chin up in the air like this, you're gonna get hit. So you ensure that anytime you throw the jab, you ensure that the shoulder at least comes up for defense. So you keep your chin down, bang. Okay, if you're throwing the jab like this with your chin up in the air, you might as well not throw the jab, because guess what you're doing? You're better off like this. In this position, your chin's protected. As soon as you throw the jab and you get your chin up, you're gonna get caught. So don't throw the jab if you're gonna throw it like that. Okay, rotate the hips. The power in the jab comes from a hip rotation. If you want a solid jab, you need to rotate those hips. Guess what happens when you don't rotate the hips? If you just do that and flick jab, a lot of people just flick the jab, you're not creating any deterrence for your opponent. What do I mean by deterrence? You want to make your opponent feel like it's a risk coming forward to attack you. You want to deter them, you want to break their will. So you don't want an opponent that's too confident and wants to come forward all the time and throw shots, because the more that they do that, the higher risk for you. You may get caught for something that's dangerous and it might kind of like scramble your senses a little bit. What you want to do is, you want to throw a solid jab using your hips and shoulders, bam! A solid jab that deters the opponent from wanting to come forward. If you're attacking someone and they've hit you with a really hard shot, you're gonna think twice. You kind of slow down a little bit and you go, whoa, he's quite strong. And you might think, okay, I'm gonna try again, boom! And then you get hit again, you're gonna think, okay, I need to think of something else to do. And imagine now an opponent that does that to you all the time. So you're in there with someone who's just jabbing, bang, 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 and the jab is coming from so far away and it's so technical that you can't hit them back, but you're getting your head busted in. That's not very nice. So you want to be the person scoring the shot, scoring your shots, okay, and pushing the opponent back. You don't want to be the one getting hit or being the one under pressure all the time. You want to be the one dictating. You want to be in charge, and the best way to be in charge in boxing, the best way to dominate, is to use that jab. Okay, so thank you for watching today, guys. Today I just wanted to really just talk about that jab and tell you how important it is to practice those jabs, master those jabs before you go into anything else. Really learn how to use those jabs. I just wanted to talk to you about the structure of the jab, how you throw it, why it's important to do certain things, and I also wanted to, most importantly, to talk to you about the function of the jab. Why you throw the jab at this time, why you throw it at that time, and how you move your feet and you combine your movement with the jab. Okay, thank you guys for watching, and you know the drill. Always remember, keep ready to box sale. Till next time.